All right, and there you have it. We are live now. We are officially live. We'll wait for that to kind of start flowing in on the screen. Make sure everything's working right. Yeah, cold. Wow, it's cold all over the country besides Arizona.
Yeah, I didn't ship this week.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Right?
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I'm supposed to ship Monday, and it's like it's not happening.
Yeah, all right. So we're starting to get an actual stream coming in. So now we got all that random banter that we have. But yeah, I guess thanks everybody for tuning in. For anybody that's new, we've been trying to do this pretty regularly, getting some cool people in here to talk about, ball pythons and just pretty much anything. But I'm Joel from State 48. I'm here with Adam from Beach Bums Exotics.
Hey guys.
And then our guest tonight is Ozzy from Ozzy Boids. And we got everybody's links down in the description and all that. So if you get down there, subscribe, follow, do everything you guys got to do to get a hold of anybody. But yeah, here we have it. I guess here's Ozzy.
What's up, guys?
The one, the man, the legend, Big Oz.
The wizard, the ball python wizard.
And so we've got, let's see, 35 people in here. Just like Joel was saying, thanks everybody for joining tonight. It's going to be a real good one. Make sure everybody gets your questions ready. Dump them in the chat. We'll be recording them and getting to them and all that good stuff. Yeah,
and we'll do our best. And then at the end, we're going to open it up as usual to probably like the last 15 minutes or so, do some live questions and stuff like that. So kind of get that going. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of just get kicked off here a little bit, Ozzy. I guess we'll start with that generic question of, how'd you get into this? Like what kind of made you start moving forward, maybe going from when you first started out to like being very involved where you're at now?
Well, it was initially when I got back into the hobby. I used to have reptiles when I was a kid. Initially, when I got back in, I just wanted to get a couple of small constrictors. I was living in a condo. And, actually, I just wanted one small constrictor. And when I went online and started doing research, I started seeing like all these crazy morphs and, albino boas, etc.
Right.
So initially, I just got a normal ball python from a show, Harry de Grace in Maryland. And after that, I just, I kept researching and going online so I could get more information on husbandry, etc. And I was just exposed to, Ralph Davis, Nerd, King Snake, ballpython.net, all of these forums. And it was insane. It was,
Right.
Eventually, I decided that I'm going to pick up an albino boa. Right, that was my first morph. That's why I breed mainly ball pythons, but you see an albino boa on my shirt.
Yeah.
That was my first morph. So
there you go. Okay, that's cool. That's a fun piece of trivia. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I have wondered that though. But I knew you bred boas. Like you have some pretty cool boas.
Yes. So definitely. I still have a few boas, but I'm definitely a ball python guy, but that's why, you see the albino boa on my logo. That was the first one. And I actually bought that snake from Pete Call. And, I called Pete Call and, he lived maybe like an hour and a half from me. Mm-hmm. And he said, come on down, you could pick it up. You could pick out the one you want. So I drove down there and I bought this $1,200 boa constrictor. And I was like, I was broke back then. I was working my way to school.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's an expensive snake.
It was a lot of money, and I was a little nervous about it. But I had a boa when I was a kid, and I just fell in love with the albino boas, man. So I had that one, and I drove out there to pick it up, and back then he had like his house, the original house where he first started breeding first albino boas.
Mm-hmm.
He was also producing like some of the first pies and albino ball pythons and stuff like that. So he was making so much money. He built a building in the back of his house up on a hill.
Right.
And this building was designed just for his snakes, and he had like heated floors and all this, and that was like back in 2000. So he brought me in his facility and started showing me around, and I've been hooked ever since then, man. I mean, it just blew me away.
Well, so, what a place! What a place to go to, like as your first kind of walk in to see something. I mean, jeez.
Dude, I was just stunned.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. And that's where I saw my first albino ball python, my first pied. And back then, the pies were selling for like, I think like 30K, 25K.
For a visual?
Albinos were still selling for like 10K.
Wow.
Yeah.
To see those animals, he was like, he just took me down this hall. He had rooms on both sides, and he would just take me in a room, and he just had all these boas and all these ball pythons. And dude, it was crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I couldn't imagine like walking in and just being like, wow, that's a serious snake sitting right there, and just seeing that, right? Like on your first trip.
It was nuts. I mean, I was still in college. I was still working my way through school. And, but, you know, I was hooked after that. So I pretty much stayed on the forums, continued to build my collection slowly. Eventually I bought a townhouse, had a little basement. So my collection expanded, and it's been all downhill from there, bro.
And here we are talking about snakes on YouTube.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Man, but talk about like, you know, total jumping in head first. You walk into a professional breeder's facility like that, and he's like, look at all this eye candy. I mean, you know.
Right. Pete was living the dream, man. I mean, he was killing it. I mean, he was selling pieballs for, you know, 30 grand and 25 grand. He was selling a lot of them. So, and he's just like really chill, laid back, you know what I mean? And he was living a dream. So that's what got me hooked.
That would do it for me for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I remember going to my first reptile show and then just being like, wow, look at all this stuff. This is crazy.
Exactly.
So,
and anybody who even you know, likes reptiles a little bit, when they get exposed to the hobby, they end up getting hooked. So
yeah, that's what's fun about it, though. That's what's fun. I love getting hooked. It continues
to grow.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
What was your first ball python morph?
Wow, my first ball python morph was a male pastel.
Oh, okay. And any reason you went with Bell?
I started from the bottom. I started from rock bottom. So
for sure.
Whenever I hear somebody say they're so far behind, I'm like, come on, man, you can't think like that. So yeah, my first morph was a male pastel ball python that I bought from Daytona, and then I had I bought a het albino male.
Okay.
So I could breed that het albino male to some normal females and make some pos hets, and then raise up the pos hets to make my first albinos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a forgotten like route lately. I feel like that's not talked about that much, doing it like that.
People so typically what people see is, you know, people see the end product, you know. Mm-hmm. They'll see like somebody who's a millionaire, they'll see the car and the house and all of that, but they don't see how that person got there, you know.
Right.
That person all the work. Inherit the money. But if it's a self-made, you know, millionaire or billionaire or whatever, people don't think about the journey or how they got there. They just look at, you know, where they're at. But this is a process, you know. So, and if you're passionate, you know, you're gonna have the longevity to stick it out and to, you know, produce a really, really nice collection eventually.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like that passion is critical to being that where you're at, honestly.
Passion and grit.
Yeah.
You know? So if you're really passionate about it, you're really excited about it, you're not going to get discouraged. So, you know, you're going to hit speed bumps. You're going to have some pitfalls, you know, things happen. But if you're committed, and you're gonna have that grit, and you're gonna stick it out, and you're gonna continue to focus on what you're doing and just elevating and increasing your collection every year.
Right. Well, yeah, and so that kind of, I feel like, leads us down to a little discussion about the Orange Dream, and kind of what that took, to get where it's at now. Like I feel like that had to take a lot of grit and determination and passion for that.
Yeah, the Orange Dream is it's crazy, man. Because I remember being at shows and other reptile breeders walking by and saying shit like, "Hey, Oz, nice normals." I had them, like I couldn't give them away. But I remember Kevin from Nerd telling me how when he first produced the hypos or the Orange Ghost, he could not give them away. And by the time I got into the game, shortly prior to me starting to produce and sell stuff, certain combos had came out utilizing that hypo gene, and one of the first ones was the honeybee.
Yeah.
Which was just a ghost spider, and back then spiders were 17, 20 grand. So when that came out, that was it. And then the Mojave Ghost came out, and all these cool ghost combos came out. And dude, if you had a female ghost and you put it on King Snake, it would sell literally in like 2 hours for $2,500.
Wow.
You couldn't produce enough. As soon as you posted them, people calling you, and if you sold it to somebody else, they get pissed at you.
Right.
Like, I only had one. So yeah, man, back then it was crazy. But I remember Kevin saying how nobody wanted to touch the hypo. They just they didn't believe in it.
Right.
And it's because people typically they look at the snake in front of them, but they don't look at the possibilities. They don't look ahead.
Right.
They're just staring at what's in front of them. But you always got to look past that morph and look for the possibilities. And that's what I saw with the Orange Dream. So from day one, I had a good feeling about it.
And look at that. Now it's like a staple in the industry. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. People. I think people keep expecting it to go away and fade away, but then you see another new combo with it, and you're like, dude, what? So you can say, and I'm not trying to brag or whatever.
No, we get it. No, whatever.
But it's undeniable, dude. The gene is badass. It's a very versatile gene because it adds color, it'll clean a snake, it maintains that black contrast, and it reduces pattern. So it pretty much does everything that some mutations may only reduce the pattern, but they may only add color, or they may only be a cleaner gene.
Right.
But it pretty much does everything. So that's why I think it's such a cool gene.
Totally agree.
That's why it's so effective in so many different genes too, though, is because it does do so much. So you can always hit something with the OD.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. It's a really, really cool gene.
So we had a question kind of about the OD. Can you explain more to what the like high intensity is? Is that more like a line bred, just over time the snakes have gotten prettier and prettier?
No.
Okay.
No. So initially that's what I thought it was, right?
Okay.
I used to produce a lot of cool, like really good looking Orange Dreams, and everybody used to come to me and they used to say things like, dude, your Orange Dreams just look way better than everybody else's. And the reason why it was that high intensity gene. And that high intensity gene, I just think it's an Orange Dream. It's an Orange Dream gene. It's still the same gene, but I think it got tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's slightly different.
Okay. It was like an evolution of the gene itself.
Exactly. And I think the ball python, I mentioned this before, I think the ball python genome is just prone to random mutation or spontaneous mutation. And that's why we have so many different morphs. And that's why you'll see a brand new morph will pop up in somebody's collection. It'll just hatch.
Right.
And now it's reproducible. You look at the monsoon, you look at the stranger. There's a lot of genes that just pop up in people's collections. And I just think the ball python genome is prone to random mutation. So
right.
every year I see weird things happening with the stuff that I'm hatching, and it makes it more and more difficult to identify stuff. You know,
right? That makes sense. Yeah.
So just when you think you have a mutation figured out, and you know, here are the markers for this combo, it'll mutate or it'll start to drift,
Mhm.
and start to look completely different. So that's been my experience.
If you don't mind me asking, what are some of the markers that you always look for in Orange Dream, and then the ones compared to high intensity?
So in the beginning, if you go back to like 2004 and you look on Kingsnake or whatever, or ballpython.net, or I don't know if Bush League was around back then, but if you go back and you look at some of those photos, or if I go on my computer and I pull some of those photos, what you'll see is initially the Orange Dream was a reduced banded animal. So that was one of the markers. That's no longer the case. All Orange Dreams are not reduced anymore. But initially they were reduced. You had the head marker, and then you had the pied railroad tracks on the belly.
The belly, right.
Yeah. And then also the orange just increasing as you go further down towards the tail. Right. The orange just increases it in intensity.
Right.
So those were the initial markers. And now, I mean, man, I see all kinds of weird stuff. And a lot of it is just, I look at it from experience. And mainly it's the coloration and the head stamp that's been pretty consistent. And then the belly tracks.
Right on. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because like I slept on the Orange Dream gene myself. Like I saw it come around a long time ago. I thought it was cool, but I was so new that I was just working with a couple different snakes, and it was just kind of one of those things of, all right, do I take some money and invest in this or not? And I just didn't know, right? And now all of a sudden, when you hit that super Orange Dream, it just, everybody wanted it, right? Like, and I just remember seeing the price shoot through the roof. And I'm like, well, now I'm never going to get it. And now I have some.
You guys are lucky it took me so long to make the super, because if I made the super a few years earlier before I started releasing them, they would have really been expensive.
That is very true.
That was a mistake I made. And as far as sleeping on mutations, I've slept on several mutations. I mean, we all do it. Mm-hmm. And one of the lessons that I've learned over the years is every mutation has potential. And usually, people don't find the motivation to buy into a mutation until they see a really, really cool combo.
Right.
It's just human nature,
Yeah.
And again, so you have to bring yourself to look beyond the morph or a single mutation and look at what it could potentially do.
Right.
And so I think everything has potential, but I work with what I like,
Yeah. That's a big part of it. Doing what you like while you're doing it.
Exactly.
We had a question come in. I'll kind of rephrase it. They asked specifically if Orange Dream was your favorite gene to work with, but I'll add, what is your favorite gene? Just open-ended question.
Yeah.
Man, all of them.
All of them.
Everything in my collection, man. I don't. Of course, the Orange Dream, means a lot to me, right? So,
right.
That basically put Ozzy Boids on the map, that gene. And that gene just basically, it had such an impact on my business and my life and all my projects. I mean, all my projects, I pretty much, if I produce something, I'll work Orange Dream into it eventually.
Right.
But I love all the genes, man. I love the hobby itself. I don't have a specific favorite. It's that's just a hard question for me. So
yeah, that's interesting though. Well, that kind of goes to the fact that the side of things where you think, there isn't really such thing as, we had a guest on previously, Will Morris from Royal Canadian, and he was kind of touching on how there's no such thing as a bad project, because it's just, everything can do something. You just have to work it right and do what you got to do. So I think that's why it's hard to pick a gene you maybe really, really like.
Yeah, there's no bad projects. There's just bad breeders.
Right.
You know, whether you're lazy or whether you don't have the, you know, wherewithal to stick a project out, or you just don't have the vision, you're not seeing it. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it comes down to vision. You know what I mean? It comes down to seeing the potential in something before everyone else does. And if you look at some of the pioneers when it comes to ball pythons, you know, Ralph Davis and Pete Call and, you know, Kevin, those guys saw the potential, you know. When they first started posting the snakes and asking $50,000, people thought they were crazy. You know, people thought they were nuts, you know, but clearly they were onto something. So those guys are visionary. Another guy, Mark Mandick, he was the first breeder that saw the Orange Dream. I mean, I remember I was at Tinley and he was just walking by my table and he stopped and just, there was an Orange Dream on the table, a little down, and he stopped and he looked at it and he was like, Oz, what the fuck is that? Like, it was like instant. And I was like, that's the Orange Dream. And he was like, dude, that's badass. How much for that? And he bought the snake off my table, just like right then and there. And that's what Mark does. He'll walk around the show and he'll see something. And if it moves him, he'll just buy it. You know, I've seen him buy $12,000 snakes like right off the table. You know, no negotiating, no haggling. He, you know, he sees something he really, really likes. You know, he follows his gut, and he was all in. So
well, look where it's got him. You know, being that way.
Yeah, and he was the only one that was like talking about the project way before I produced the Super. He was the only one that was on a podcast and was saying this is going to be the next big thing. This gene has a lot of potential. Back then, like I couldn't give them away. So when I produced the first clutch of Supers, I sold him the first male Super Orange Dream. It was a Super Orange Dream Fire. And the female that produced the first Supers was the original high intensity female.
Right. Okay.
And that female, I remember that female coming out. She was a yellow belly dream bee, and she was just insane. And I used to take her to the show to show people the potential. That's when people started to pay attention, and people used to try to buy that snake from me all the time. But I kept her, I raised her up, and I bred an Orange Dream Fire to her.
Right. Okay.
So, that was the first Super clutch.
That right there. Okay.
Yeah, and that was the first high intensity stuff too. But it was they were Supers, but they only had one high intensity gene.
Okay.
The other gene was a regular OD gene.
Right. Okay.
So what was happening when I would take that Super and breed it to something, half the clutch would be high intensity, half would be regular OD.
Right, because okay.
And of course, I was holding back
the prettier one. Right.
Stuff. I sold a lot of it, but I was holding it back too.
Right. Yeah, that makes it really hard to distinguish too when it's doing stuff like that.
And that's what people were seeing. So people were seeing the offspring from those Supers and from that original female, and they were like, dude, your Orange Dreams are so much brighter, they're so much cleaner. But it was because they were comparing high intensity to regular OD.
Right.
That's what it was. I initially thought it was just line breeding, but it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really interesting.
And that's good to know, because that's kind of what, you know, that's what I was kind of assuming too. So it's cool to get that explanation and history of how it all broke down and stuff like that, man.
Yeah, that was a great question. We got that from chat too. That was good. I can't remember who asked that, but that was a good question. I like that.
I know it's confusing. I know it's a confusing topic, but I think it's still Orange Dream. It's still on the same allele, because I've produced Supers with both genes, and I've produced Orange Dream Fires and high intensity Orange Dream Fires, and it's night and day.
Right.
The difference is night and day. And I've even, back in the day, I sold a few high intensities as Supers because I thought they were super.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's when I started to like really take a closer look and try to figure out what was going on. And eventually I figured out, you know, I started paying closer attention to the clutches, and I figured out that these were completely different looking orange dreams that were coming out of these clutches. So the goal is now is to make a super orange dream with high intensity on both alleles.
Okay.
I may have done that in the
super.
past unknowingly, but so that super would throw all high intensity.
That would be crazy. Yeah, that would be yeah, that's gonna be hard to do, I feel like.
You have to keep single gene high intensities and breed them back to each other.
Right.
Because if you do the supers that I have now and you do the super to super, you're gonna get a mixed bag. So it's gonna be hard to distinguish. But if you take 2 single gene high intensity ODs and breed them back together, you could produce what I'm calling a double dose high intensity.
Double dose.
Yeah. We get creative, man.
Yeah, no, it's good. We got to.
Oh man.
Okay, so I guess that kind of opens up. We could go down into like the market side of things. I don't know. This is kind of like it's like a open-ended question, but where do you see, like, do you notice a trend or a direction you maybe see the market going right now, or an area where people aren't focused or anything like that? In your opinion?
I think the market has really matured and changed over the past few years. So initially, back in the day when I first started, the thing that people would do, most breeders, they would pick a gene that they thought was in big demand, like a banana, and then they would just try to mass produce as many bananas as they could,
Right.
and sometimes some of the initial investors, they would spend $50K on a banana male, so they would be trying to make their money back. So they would try to produce as many bananas as they could, or they would try to produce as many piebalds or clowns as they could, or killer clowns, whatever. They would just mass produce, a handful of snakes that they thought would sell really, really well.
Right.
Some of the other breeders were on a completely different level. Like Kevin from Nerd, he was all about innovating and taking it to the next level and producing the next hottest snake, etc. So compared to today you see it's a much different hobby.
Okay.
The people that are doing it now are trying to produce the next cool combo.
Yeah.
And there are still people who are just trying to produce them so that they could sell them, but I think a lot of the guys out there now they're more passionate about the hobby, so they're trying to produce stuff for themselves, so that they can keep it, for their own collection. So, so people are being a lot more selective about what they're producing, and they're trying to produce really, really cool, high-end animals. So, I think that's been the biggest shift that I've noticed the past few years, and I think that's why the market has been so strong for the past few years.
Right.
We don't have as much volatility.
Yeah, between dumping money, losing money, dumping money, losing money, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I never lost money.
Right.
I always made money. I've been profitable from day one, and
that's awesome.
I think it's because of the way I structured. I don't even want to call it my business plan. It was more of the way that I structured my breeding plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more of a designer, and I didn't hang on to animals and try to produce animals and chase them all the way down to the bottom. I was always trying to produce, like, I wasn't competing with anybody. I wasn't trying to be a world's first or anything like that. But I was always trying to, the term that I use is upgrade my genetics. Every year I want to upgrade it. I want to upgrade my genetics. I want to get rid of the hex, and I want to replace them with visuals. You know what I mean? And then I want to get rid of the visuals and replace them with double homozygous or multi-gene codom combos.
Right.
That's always been my breeding plan, and I've never been a collector, so I don't collect. I don't hoard. I'm a designer.
Right.
Something is in my collection, it has a purpose. If that purpose has been served, I get rid of it.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
yeah, so
The
that's
design
been,
reverse that. Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, unintentionally, that turned out to be a really good business plan because I
Right.
always upgraded my genetics. And I just, you know, eventually I started to catch up to some of the bigger breeders. And then eventually I started to produce stuff that they didn't have.
Right.
And also by selling those big adults while they still had value, you know, I was generating income from, you know, getting rid of the big head ghost females while they were still worth something. A lot
Right.
of guys, a lot of guys just hung on to those big head ghosts. Like they just couldn't bring themselves to sell a big head ghost female that's producing 10, 12 eggs every year. Just couldn't bring themselves to sell it.
Right, right.
Because they were stuck in the past. They
Yeah.
kept thinking about, dude, I produced 20 female ghosts and I sold them for $2,500. They're stuck in the past.
Right.
And eventually, those ghosts started selling for $200, and
Yeah.
those big head females were worthless.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and trying to get rid of them at that stage is hard. You know?
Right.
So
Well, too, it keeps your collection more tight knit too. You're not expanding beyond means because then there's, you know, the rat bill and the infrastructure and everything else that goes along with it.
yeah, bigger than the rat bill is the burnout. There's the burnout.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed over the years, I try to learn from other people's mistakes. And there's so many guys in the reptile hobby or the industry or whatever you want to call it, who they get in, they have a little success, and they grow, and then they crash and burn.
Yeah.
And then they get out, or they go
Right.
bankrupt or whatever. So, you know, when you're working with animals, you can't whatchamacallit, mass produce them. You can't.
Right.
I'm sorry. You can't mass produce these ball pythons. And you can try, you know, and you might have some, you know, success and you might produce a lot of animals, but guess what? When you look at your productivity, it's going to be very, very low compared to somebody with a smaller collection. Somebody
Right.
with a smaller collection is going to get more females to go, and they're going to have better success with their animals. Their animals are going to be more productive. They're going to get bigger clutches, etc. So right. It's better to run a small, tight, efficient breeding program. You'll have more success. You'll have lower overhead, and you'll be more profitable in the long run, especially if you're upgrading your genetics and you're trying to produce really, really cool combos instead of mass producing one gene that may crash next year.
Right. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, and then that drives the passion too.
And it keeps you excited. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, you know, I go down into my snake room. If I have to clean or feed, I go down there for a couple of hours or whatever. I enjoy myself.
Right.
Right.
I'm not dreading it. I'm not like dragging my feet because I don't want to go downstairs and clean snake shit. Dude, I enjoy working with my animals, so I'm always eager to go downstairs. And every season it just gets better and better and better. So I'm always excited. I'm always pumped, and it doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah, and that's the secret.
It's not work to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, how can I not be successful?
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. When you love something, you know, it's easy to be successful with it, right? Like it's because you just want to do more and more of it. Like, yeah, that's really good advice. We always ask that kind of like, what's your advice to somebody starting out? And I mean, that was it right there. Like,
absolutely.
So,
yeah.
If you're really passionate about it, then do it. If you're just doing it for the money, don't do it.
Right.
Because eventually you're gonna give up, you're gonna quit, or you're gonna get discouraged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the watchdog.
Yeah, and then
is that a German short hair that I saw running? Oh, that's cool.
Jack's here. Yeah, he's about he's about a year old.
Yeah, he's
here.
great. Yeah, great coloring too. Hey, buddy.
What's up? What's up? Yeah, he's a good dog.
At least a good-looking dog, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that kind of takes us into where we kind of lead off into next, is we're talking about passion and stuff like that. So do you have a project maybe super excited for this year, like coming up right now, that maybe you want to talk about or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, wow. So that's a loaded question because
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
so again, like if I'm not excited about it, I usually if I don't have a pairing that I'm not excited about, I usually don't pair it, you know.
Right.
Sometimes I'll pair something like everybody wants Super Orange Dream Fire Clowns. So I might try to make some Super Orange Dream Fire Clowns just for some of my customers because I know people want them. You know, but most of my projects, I'm trying to produce something for me.
Right.
And basically what I do is you know, I pair something for a specific reason, or I pair something out of curiosity because I want to see what it looks like. And, you know, and then I hatch the stuff out, and then, you know, I usually keep some stuff. I don't keep a lot. I keep a little bit of everything, you know, because I kind of want to work all of these projects, but I don't want to expand my collection to the point that it, you know, becomes unbearable. So it's a balance in that. So some of the projects, let me see if I could pull up my breeding plan here.
There we go. Yeah, let's get to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah. Some of the stuff, I'm excited about a lot of stuff. So I'm excited about the Ultramel combos that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So Ultramel Pied stuff. So when I look at the Ultramel Pied, I just, you know, I start seeing all of these other combos that haven't been made yet. But I know, like, just in my gut, I know they're going to be really, really, really nice.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm doing a lot of Orange Dream, Ultramel Pied. I'm working it into the Leopard. I'm working it into Leopard Clown.
Awesome.
So I should produce some Pie, double head, Ultramel Clown stuff. Actually, Leopard Pie, double head, Ultramel Clown. I should produce some Orange Dream, Ultramel, Leopard, Yellow Belly, Pied, Het Ultramel. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
dude, all kinds of crazy stuff.
That is crazy. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm also working on Desert Ghost Ultramel, Super Orange Dream, Desert Ghost Ultramels.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's some of the stuff that gets me excited. I really, really like what Justin did with the. I wasn't crazy about the Clown Pies initially when they first came out. It just didn't do it for me. But then I saw some of the combos that Justin made. The first one that really, really caught my eye was the Orange Dream Yellow Belly Pie. I just love the color and the contrast on that animal. That
yeah.
thing's sick. And then you guys saw when we were hanging out
in
Corona, he stacked that leopard gene on top of it, and it just it popped. So I really love the Leopard Pie stuff.
Yeah, I'm a huge. I mean, that's like one of my big focuses is Clown Pied stuff. I love it. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And with Leopard in it too. Yeah.
Yeah, Clown Pied with that Orange Dream gene, and then the Leopard Pied stuff is crazy. Luis Alonso was saying this, you know, a couple of years ago, and I think a lot of people they were sleeping on it, but he was one of those breeders that figured this out early on, and I produced some Leopard Pied stuff by accident, and I just really, I think you guys have seen the two males. Like I'm breeding those two males to pretty much everything in my collection. You know? I'm trying to space them out. But I love the Orange Dream, Enchi, Yellow Belly, Leopard Pies.
I talked to so many guys at the show that were like, I should have just asked. I shouldn't have walked away from that table. Like after they found out those males got a win.
Oh, with the Clown Pie?
Yeah.
So you know, when you think about that, right? People really operate on a lot of false beliefs, right? So people walked up to that table and they saw big breeder clown pied males. And they were like, oh, those are going to be expensive. You don't know if you don't ask.
Very
you know
true.
What I mean? So
Yeah.
that was a perfect example of people making assumptions. And I was standing there, and I'm not gonna call out his name, but I know the breeder.
Totally.
We've done business for years, and I trust him. I know he's a good guy. So I asked him, and when he told me the price, I was like, all right, I'll take that one. And it was, I forget who was standing behind me.
That was Nick from Renowned Reptiles. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, how much did you pay for that? And he bought the other one like right away. You know what I mean? So again,
100%.
You gotta ask. Don't make assumptions. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I snagged pretty pied from that table myself. That was I was surprised. I was like, yep, let's do it.
Oh yeah, he had a lot of good deals, man.
Yeah,
he had a lot of great deals. Yeah, some of the tri-stripe stuff too was flying off the table also, and
he was blowing out a lot of really nice stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That was worth the trip right there.
Right. We had this question come in a while ago. Will Morrows, you know him, Royal Canadian Reptiles.
Oh yeah. I love
yeah. So he wanted to ask you, what do you think's the biggest sleeper gene out there?
There we go. I was waiting for that question.
Yep.
The biggest. Wow. The biggest.
And now everybody's going to go buy it right now.
Right.
I'm going to say biggest sleeper genes. Like
gene. Yeah, we'll go plural. Yeah.
So definitely puzzle.
Yeah.
Puzzle. I think puzzle. Like I couldn't believe how cheap people were selling puzzles, and I think the puzzle gene has a lot of potential. And Will already has some puzzle stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
What other gene? Desert Ghost. I think people are kind of sleeping on the Desert Ghost stuff. Ultramel. Monarch is another one. The Cinder gene. I really like the Cinder gene. I think the Cypress gene is way too cheap. I mean, that's a cool gene. It just, people got a little freaked out because they heard some of the supers are wobbling, but I still think there's a lot of potential, and the potential really doesn't center around the super. It's just the Cypress gene by itself. I really, really like what it's doing and how it's impacting, some of the mutations. I would say blackhead, but I think people are waking up to the blackhead.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of genes out there that people are sleeping on just because, they're not as popular anymore. You look at the chocolate gene.
I love chocolate.
It's endless.
Yeah.
So, you really gotta try to look to the future when you're looking at some of these mutations, and you got to kind of pay attention to what the mutation is doing. Is it reducing a pattern? Is it a cleaner gene? And then, looking at it from that perspective, you can figure out what other genes may complement that gene or may combine, really, really well with that gene. That's what I do. I mean, I'll look at people's pictures, I draw inspiration from a lot of you guys and some of the combos that you guys are making. So I watch what people are doing. I see how certain things combine, and sometimes I'll make an adjustment to some of my projects. And the clown pot is a perfect example. The spot nose. I mean, I produced orange dream spot nose years ago, and I kind of wasn't excited about it, and I ended up getting rid of the spot nose gene. And then a few years later, JK started, throwing out some crazy spot nose combos, and with some other breeders producing some really, really cool spot nose stuff. So guess what? now I have spot nose in my collection again. So
yeah,
so
that's how it goes sometimes.
Sometimes you got to pivot. You got to
Right.
make adjustments, and you got to pivot. So
the spot puzzles are really pretty.
Yeah,
the spot nose puzzle came out good. Yeah,
I think those are
that. How close are you to doing DG puzzles? Is that this year?
Oh man, that's a real kick in the nuts, man. So I was convinced, right? I was convinced that I figured out the puzzle marker. So I produced a bunch of Desert Ghost stuff, and I just knew these are het puzzles. And I got rid of my double het.
Oh.
Yeah. So I tell you, I have terrible luck when it comes to the double recessives. I have horrible luck, but I'm persistent.
That's what you need, though.
Dude, I'm like a dog with a bone. So eventually I'm going to hit it. But when I do hit it, I'm not going to hit the Desert Ghost puzzle.
No.
I'm going to end up hitting a Super Orange Dream, Yellow Belly Desert Ghost puzzle or something.
Right.
Like that. So,
Clown.
Yeah, but dude, I had these big, I had a pastel Desert Ghost and I had a super pastel Desert Ghost male, and I was convinced, and neither one proved out.
Damn.
And I had some females too. So as far as people looking for puzzle markers, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. It's too inconsistent. Like, because there's some things that you're like, oh, that really seems like it's showing the puzzle gene, but I think it's just like, phenotypical. Like it's not. It's really not, right? It's not a marker. It's just.
You know what I think it is? I think it's that Hatari gene or whatever the hell that Sean Bradley has, because there's something. I posted a couple of animals the other day that came out of that project, and I think that's what threw me.
Right.
So, and plus I had that Zinger. I don't even know what the hell's going on with that gene, but I had that gene in the mix too. So I think either one of those genes could have been influencing the appearance of those Desert Ghosts. And I was thinking I was seeing het puzzle markers, and I may have been seeing something completely different. So it's all good. I mean, I produced a lot of really, really cool, weird looking animals from that project. I missed on the Desert Ghost puzzle, but I produced a lot of really, really cool combos that I'm raising up, and everything is pos het. So I'll hit it eventually. And when I do hit it, unfortunately, there's going to be a few other genes stacked on top.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Man.
Oh man, that one is probably that's the one I'm the most excited about. Really, that's where my drive is to go OD Desert Ghost puzzle. Like I want super form or whatever, but that's what I really really want to see. And I know Will up north in Canada, I think he's going to do it this year. I know you're in chat, Will. Post in there if you think you're going to do it.
He's got it. And I sold a group of 1.2 to a guy in England from the first clutch, from that original clutch. So I actually think he may have produced the Desert Ghost puzzle, but he's kind of fell off the radar. So I haven't heard from him in a couple of years.
Right.
But I thought he mentioned to me that he did produce it.
He did. Oh man, I've been looking for pictures. I would love to see it if you.
So what I suspect is he may have produced like a Desert Ghost Hatari or something. So that's what I suspect, because I never saw. He never sent me evidence.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no pick didn't happen, right?
Something happened, but I just don't know if it was the DG puzzle.
Right. That's cool.
Okay, so I guess you pretty much already answered this. Is there anything out there that maybe you want in on that you haven't invested in yet? Or
I really like the Monsoon. I definitely like that project, and I've been eyeballing that project. I like the Stranger Gene.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really cool project. And it's kind of similar to the Cinder too. So playing around with the cinder right now, and I'm trying to produce some more cinder.
Could you explain that one real quickly?
That's a sleeper gene. So the cinder is it makes a super that looks like the Suma, the super mahogany.
Oh, okay.
There's some similarities to the mahogany, but it's not the same. It's a completely different gene. Now, one of the ways you can tell that they're different, the supers look very, very similar. But if you take a black pastel cinder and you take a black pastel mahogany and you add pastel to it, you're going to get like a pewter looking mahogany. But with the cinder, if you add pastel to that black pastel cinder, it turns into a patternless silver snake.
Really?
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
And if you look at some of the initially when I invested in the Cinder project, I thought it was very similar to the Stranger. And back then the Stranger wasn't even for sale.
Right.
Roland and those guys, they weren't selling any. And I think they at that time they may have offered like a couple of females, but they really weren't selling it. So I invested in the Cinder because I saw some of the Cinder projects, Cinder combos, and there's a resemblance to the Stranger. Like if you look at like a pastel lesser Cinder, you know, and you compare it to like a pastel lesser Stranger, there's some similarities, but they're different. They're not the same. But there's definitely some similarities. Now, whenever you see a gene, if it does something really, really unusual or unexpected, like with the Cinder, like by adding pastel, it kind of wipes out the pattern.
Right.
That's something that really gets me curious.
Yeah, totally. Do you think so? We had a question pop up. Is it allelic to like the mahogany or like, you know, Huffman?
I don't know, but I picked up a mahogany clown for that reason, so that I could play around with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the mahogany clowns are sick looking.
Yeah.
That came out nice.
Yeah, I picked up a mahogany hidden gene Woma clown.
Oh, so, nice, man.
And I'm trying to produce. I tried to produce some last year, and I'm trying again this year to produce some Cinderhead clown stuff. So if I hit some Cinderhead clown stuff, I could raise up some females. I could run that mahogany hidden gene Woma clown to them and see what happens.
Sure.
I suspect you might get like a Suma looking combo, but if you look at the genetic stripe clown, that's another, like, nobody ever expected that outcome.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So
yeah, that's kind of an underrated double recessive, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, it's cool.
Like, yeah, I think it's really cool. Like, you know, and I've seen a couple of them made and they look completely different than each other, right? Like how the dots and the lines are kind of coming through. So you could work lots of morphs into that and change that, I think, you know?
Yeah. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But dude, there's so much crazy stuff to make. I mean, you look at the pastel Xanthic Desert Ghost. I mean, you could take that to clown. You could take the genetic stripe clown. You could take that to leopard clown. You could take it to leopard clown pied, Xanthic pied. I mean,
so many.
Desert Ghost pied gonna look like. So these projects, I mean, there's so many different, you know, directions that you can go. And one of the things that people used to always say back in the day is just breed recessive, stay away from codoms. That's a big mistake, man. That was a big mistake that a lot of people made. So I think codoms are powerful.
Right.
They should be part of every collection. And you don't want to just do recessive or just do codoms. You really want to mix them up.
Right.
Some of the codoms, the bongo gene. Oh, the bongo, that's a sleeper.
Yeah.
The bongo is a sleeper. I mean, the bongo clown stuff is really
ridiculous.
Really nice.
Yeah, it's real nice. Yeah, it's looking good too.
The special gene, special. It's another one.
Yeah.
So I might have some special type stuff going on in my collection too. So or some special zinger. I don't know what they are, to be honest with you, but
you're thinking the zinger is close to special?
Yeah, I'm thinking either that or I have special in my collection that got mixed up with the Zinger. I don't know, because some of the stuff that I hatched out doesn't look like special, but um, I was up at Mutation Creation, and the guy that works for Billy, he was showing me some stuff, and he was saying they look special, and he showed me some special combos, and they had kind of like the same head markers, but I don't see it. I don't see it consistently within the special combos, but that special clown that somebody posted a special clown recently.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that thing is nice, man.
Really? Okay, I'll have to go look for that.
Really, yeah, really, 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 really nice. I like how that turned out.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a ton of stuff out there, and the good thing about this market is you can get a lot of stuff, that's very inexpensive. I mean, look at the red stripe, look at the spot nose. You can pick up some really inexpensive genes, and if you have the patience and the vision, you can produce some really, really cool high-end combos with those animals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Well,
again, this is a great time to be getting into the hobby.
So on that note, we always ask this question that's about, you have $3,500 and you're starting out, and then your $3,500 maybe right now, how would you spend in both scenarios?
$3,500. Wow. I would start with females.
Mm-hmm.
I would pick up a group of females. And I would try to pick up codoms that are het pied, het desert ghost. And then I would save up my money while I grow up those females.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually pick up some powerful males to throw to those lower end females.
Right, right. And so do you think you would do just desert ghosts, or would you mix like a desert ghost and a clown and a pied? Like, let's say you get 4 or 5 females out of that, maybe.
Yeah.
Or would you buy like 2 or 3 het clowns, or
Yeah, I would do usually my breeding program, consists of groups of 1.2 all the way up to 1.5.
Okay.
So usually I'll pick up I'll try to have one male for 2 to 5 females, depending on what I'm working on.
Right.
I have an Orange Dream double het desert ghost ultra mount, and I have a couple of double het females. So
right.
So that's 1.2. I'm not going to breed that male to anything else. I'm just breeding them to those 2 females because I'm trying to hit that double recessive super OD combo.
Mm-hmm.
So once
do you normally have a backup male?
That visual, then you could run him to whatever.
Right.
Yeah, Adam, I think that's a good question.
Do you normally stack a backup male in the plans, kind of? Right? Like, yeah.
Absolutely. And what I try to do, I try not to have like 2 double het males, but I may try to have something else that's comparable that I could work into the project.
Mm-hmm.
That I could use as a backup usually, because I don't like a lot of redundancy and I want to keep my collection small. So, but I always have a backup plan. I mean, if you don't have a plan B, you don't have a plan. And that's
very true.
That's really important when it comes to, some of these breeding projects. And if you're raising a female for 2, 3, 4 years, when she's ready to breed, you want to be ready to breed her.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's surprising because those males almost, I feel like for me, as of lately, the males have been the problem, not the females.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've had males that would breed strong for 2, 3 years. And then the 4th year, for whatever reason,
took a vacation.
Yeah. They're just lazy. They don't want to breed,
Yeah.
So.
And it's crazy because I put so much emphasis on getting the females right and the time invested in that. And then I have these males that are just, come on, man. You don't know how easy you have it.
Yeah. So you gotta have a backup male.
Yeah.
And, right when breeding season start, like right in the fall, that's a good time to unload your you know, extra males, because there's always somebody out there who has a lazy male and they're pulling their hair out and they got a female that needs to be bred. So, you know, those males sell really, really well, you know, during the season.
And you know, it's funny too, like I've bought like a few secondary males from people, or even I've had a male like down at a buddy's place on a breeder loan, not doing anything for him. I bring him to my place, and I think that change of scenery, that, you know, plane flight or whatever, man, kicks him in gear again. And then, you know, they start picking up. Yeah.
You could
driving around in a car.
Male. Yeah. Sometimes you throw another male in there.
Right.
If you get them sparring. You could take a fresh shed from another male, throw it in a cage. Another thing you could do is you could invert the peens on another male.
Oh, and get the juices.
Plugs.
Yeah.
And rub it on the female. That's another trick.
Yeah.
So
that's a good one right there.
There's a lot of little things that you could, you know, you can do to try to stimulate the male. But again, sometimes just taking them in a car and just, you know, take them grocery shopping with you.
It sounds crazy, right? But like I've done it and it does work. Like, you know
who used to say that to get a snake that doesn't want to eat to get him eating? Lori Barchek. Lori Barchek used to say, just take it in the car, just drive around with it for a couple of hours, and it'll start eating. And that works too. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand ball pythons.
Yeah, ship it to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love their colors. I think they are a cool snake, but I do kind of call them dumb little puppy dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just kind of, you can't explain some of the dumb things that they do or don't do.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of it doesn't make sense, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not. When you compare them to like certain species, like a retic, they're just, you know, retics are very fascinating pythons. You know, and especially like that cow complex, that
that's crazy to me.
Phantom complex.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing to me.
Dude, they're cool. And retics is funny because different morphs behave differently. You know, like the pied retics were nasty as a motherfucker. They were crazy.
You're right.
Excuse my language. You guys can beat
me. You're
no.
But some of the other like the cows, the cows were totally chill. The Phantom Stripe, the Orange Ghost Stripe, that stuff was completely chill, just completely different personality.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and so I just started working with super dwarfs. I picked up one from Garrett Hartle over at Reach Out, and those have had the name tag or kind of the branding of being flighty and all over the place. But this one that I have, she is a sweetheart. Like I could pet her head. Yeah.
Me too. I had a dwarf that was like that too.
Yeah.
She was totally chill, very laid back.
Super laid back. Yeah. This one, I mean, she'll come up and just kind of stick her head out, and you can literally go scratch the end of her chin. And
they're curious.
Yeah, they're curious. You see their eyes moving around, and they're
I love the retics. They're so much fun. And you know, like when I walk in, I know that my retics know I'm in there. You know, I'm just like, yeah, you know I'm here. You definitely know I'm here. You're paying attention to what I'm doing, how I'm moving.
Yeah,
exactly. Cool. And do you smell like rat? Because if you do, I want a little taste.
Yeah, right now.
Oh no, yeah. You got to be careful, man. Retic can do some damage.
Yeah.
I think I still have a retic tooth in my. I don't know. I think my body may have absorbed it, but.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, in your thumb.
Yeah, I never.
Did you guys see Garrett's? Did you see Garrett's recent video where he had a retic have a feed response bite like on his arm, right?
Right.
And it wrapped him up. And so in the video, he shows you how to get off a snake that just, has a really strong latch on you. He literally takes the back of the tail and chomps on it like a corn cob.
Really?
I swear to God. I swear.
I've heard that about bite their tail, they'll let go.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I didn't
So
know.
that's pro tip. Pro
Yeah.
tip from Garrett right there.
I learned something new today.
Yeah,
That's the first.
yeah,
Now, I know you're always supposed to unwrap them from the tail.
yeah.
Nah, he left it wrapped up and he just bit that and it literally released right away and came unwrapped. Like it was like, what the hell was getting me?
That's hilarious.
That's so funny. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I heard that from Jeff out of El Segundo Pythons. He was telling me that he had this video surveillance of him biting a tail on a snake. Just yeah, silly.
Oh, that's too funny.
What can you do? You know. But okay, well, I mean, I guess we're towards the end here. We're kind of, we're at just over that hour mark. We have a lightning question round we're gonna do with you, and then we'd open it up, ask a couple questions from everybody in chat, see where we're going from there. You ready for that?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so lightning round. I mean, I'm sure you know how this works. Answer, no, you just go for it. Just let me know. So we'll get that started. So what's your favorite color?
Green.
Okay, green. I think you're our first green. So this is always a dumb question. We've been talking about jeans all night and everything like that. So on your jeans that you wear, like your pants, are you a zipper guy or a button guy?
Zipper.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So far, only the Canadian, I think, has backed up Joel on this.
Yeah, I'm a button guy. No one is a button guy.
I have a couple of jeans with the buttons. I hate
them too.
Man.
I gave mine away. I can't do it.
Dude, if you're drunk and you got to take a piss, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Or then you button up the wrong one, right? So then you walk out and your stuff's all weird.
Okay, it's a smart man's device, all right? All right, sorry, all right? Okay. Favorite childhood movie?
Favorite childhood movie?
Yeah.
Wow. Favorite childhood movie. I used to watch a lot of karate flicks.
Okay.
You guys probably don't know this one, but it would have to be The Kid with the Golden Arms.
I've never, I don't know that. I'm going to have to IMDb that one real quick.
Yeah. That'll be what I watch tonight now. Okay.
That's like way back. We used to watch a lot of karate flicks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is like fully dubbed and the whole deal where they're like, we will do that.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Good. Okay. Okay. So favorite thing to eat?
Man, I love to eat. But my favorite thing to eat, wow. I would have to say sushi. Okay.
Yeah, I love sushi.
Now, are you a sashimi guy or a roll guy?
Yeah.
I kind of like nigiri and sashimi. I'll eat some rolls, but I'm not crazy about the rolls.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that type of sashimi too. That's my wife just filled me and she goes, that's the one with the little bits of rice on the bottom. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, that's the nigiri. With the rice is nigiri. And just straight up, I do sashimi too. So
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Okay, so any superpower, what would it be?
Superpower. Wow.
Yeah, I know. A lot of power here.
I can really focus and work like for hours.
Yeah, so like
you could
limitless. Have you seen that?
You could like I could lock myself in a room and I could work for 10, 12 hours straight. Yeah. I could review documents for hours and hours and hours straight. Or I could go downstairs and work in my snake room for hours and hours and hours. So I definitely think that's one of my superpowers.
Yeah. Okay, no, what one of your superpowers do you want?
Oh, what superpower would I want?
Yeah,
you want? Yeah.
Flying.
Flying?
No-brainer.
Yeah.
I totally botched that question.
No, well, we think you're super, Oz. So anything you do is super, right?
Yeah.
So.
No more IPA for me.
Yeah.
All right, and then favorite beer. How about that one? I'm gonna add that one to the list.
Oh well, currently my favorite beer is Evo Evolution
Oh yeah,
IPA.
yeah.
It's pretty good.
I haven't tried that one yet. I saw the cans of it at the store. Pretty good.
Yeah, Indian Pale Ale. So I like real hoppy.
Yeah.
Beer. So,
Good beer. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right. Well, I guess we'll open it up. Anybody has any questions? We'll kind of pay attention to chat and see what we got going on from there.
Yeah, let's see what popped in here.
I didn't know if there's anything I missed or didn't see. I know Miss Beach Bums was out there handling business.
Well, she was putting them into Hangouts, and that was the vibration that you kept hearing. So we'll have to scan back through. And
Okay.
here's my little pup, Oz. I got a little mini bull.
you had a what? Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. How old is he?
He's 6 months old.
Oh, okay. He's still a
Yeah.
pup.
Yeah, he's a little pup still.
How's he doing?
He's good. Yeah, got this one from Miguel. He's got a little skid mark on his butt.
Does Miguel breed those? Does he breed those?
He did 1 year. I don't know if he's gonna do any more breedings with them or not, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Beautiful dog.
All right. So Will wants to know if you'll sell him an OD puzzle combo.
If I produce some, I'm trying to produce some this year, and if I do, definitely. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up to the show in September.
Okay. There you go.
And so I know somebody earlier wanted to know if you were going to be at the March Tinley.
Yeah, I'm at the March Tinley. Yep. I already paid for my tables. We'll be there.
Sweet.
Oh, cool. Let's see. Is there anything you hate seeing breeders do in this hobby?
All right, we're gonna keep it real. What do I hate seeing breeders do? I don't know. Maybe cutting eggs at like day 45.
Right. Premature cuts.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think people, when they're, sometimes there's a lot of rivalries, or, this guy doesn't like that guy or whatever. And I think when they allow that to influence how they sell a project or, price a project, I think that's asinine.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Like selling something for $5,000 and $2,000 to somebody else and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's not cool either. With a lot of the backdoor stuff on the higher end projects, it's not cool. I mean, if you have a customer that's like, buying a ton of stuff, yeah, I get it. You're gonna give them some discounts, but yeah, some of that stuff that goes on is pretty shitty. But I really don't dwell on it. I don't let what other people do bother me. I just pretty much ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always respected about you, Ozzy, is, man, you just kind of do you, right? I mean, even when people are trying to drum up, shit with you, basically, you just kind of do you, and you move on. And
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. And like, the more success you have, the more people you'll get, hating on you for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just, I try to keep it positive, and I just try to stay focused on what I'm doing. I try to drown out any noise or negativity or, news, politics. I don't let any of that shit get into my head, because, a lot of those things, they just feed on your emotions and they drag you down. So you got to stay focused on what's important to you, what gets you excited, and what's good for you, what keeps you on track. So that's what I try to focus on. I just, if people want to like start trying to troll or pick fights or whatever, I just block them.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
over it.
Yeah,
that's fine though. That's how it should be.
Well, now that you know how to block, right? I think Miguel was your first block. I think.
Yes, I've been racking my brain about that, and I'm like, did I, I don't know. That was weird.
That's my favorite Ozzy Miguel story right there.
I swear to God, I think somebody took my phone and because I'm thinking about it because I was trying to block people on Instagram. I just didn't know how. Right. And then he was like, "You blocked me," and I'm like, I don't even know how to block people on Instagram. That was hilarious. And when they pulled it up, he was the only one blocked on Insta. That was bizarre, man. And I don't know. That was weird.
No, he's a blockable guy. I get it.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, man. I like his family too. His brother is cool too. He's a Raider fan.
Yeah, Jesse or Eric.
Yeah, you gotta respect that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if we saw anything else, Adam.
Let's see. Anything else pop up? Well, I think a lot of the questions that kind of popped up, we did address through the course of the interview. So some of those that popped up that we didn't directly address here, if you guys rewatch the beginning of it, you'll see some of that stuff.
I don't know if you.
What was your question? My wife has a question. Did you want to? You have to come in the camera view to ask. So.
All right. Oh. So,
yeah,
Ozzy, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the interview, you said that there was some projects that you felt like you missed the boat on. Like Adam was saying that he didn't really jump on the OD when it first came out. So, looking back on history, what's your biggest regret project?
Wow, my biggest regret, Leopard. The Leopard.
And why is that a regret? Did you not get into it quick enough, or what makes it a regret, I guess?
I love that gene, and I just, I didn't have any Leopard stuff in my collection, and I really, really like what it's doing. So I think some of my projects would have been, a lot more advanced now. So I actually went over to England, and I went over for the ham show, and I used to ship my stuff to England and then drive it over to Germany. And I was hanging out in England, and I went over to Tony and Becky's place, and Tony has an amazing Leopard collection. And I was checking out his collection, and he was showing me all these crazy Leopard combos. And when I got back to the States, I just started buying up Leopards.
Yeah.
I have plenty now.
I love Leopard also. I think it's great, and it's kind of cool. We've got something new coming along, like Confusion, which offers some of the same stuff, but different, right? It is different. So
there's so
more
many
fun
genes out there now.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention the Confusion earlier. I think that one's another cool gene. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff. I like the Static too.
Yeah.
That the Kick brothers are.
Fred.
Yeah, Fred, and
some of that stuff looks really, really cool. And they have a couple other genes too that they're playing around with that have caught my eye.
Yeah, that Static Surge and stuff like that's pretty cool. I feel like.
Yeah, Surge was one of them. Yeah,
that was a cool gene.
So I think the biggest takeaway is that there's a lot of stuff out there, and everybody can't do everything. So there's a huge potential to produce stuff that's really, really cool. There's a lot of so.
Yeah, I think everything has its place for sure, and everything has something that's incredible that hasn't been done still.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, any parting words, Ozzy? Anything you want to leave the group?
I just, we've been doing this now for 2019, so nearly 20 years now, and I've watched the market evolve, and it changes, but it's still really, really strong. And if you're really, really passionate and excited about breeding snakes or you know, bearded dragons or whatever it is, I say, you know, go all out, be smart about what you're breeding, and you know, you're gonna have success. You know?
Yeah.
There you go.
The key is to maintain that excitement and not get discouraged when everybody else does. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. And if people want to contact you, what's the best way of finding you out there?
So the best way to reach me is to message me, PM me on my page on Facebook. Go to my business page. I don't have Messenger on my phone, so if you hit me on Messenger, I'm probably not going to see it until I get on my computer. So on my page, or you could text me, or you could shoot me an email, info@OzzyBoids.com. And even on Instagram, although I tried to resist it, I usually answer my messages on Instagram too.
Right.
Cool. Good
Cool.
deal. Man, I appreciate this so much, Ozzy. I had so much fun talking with you, and, you know, getting
cool,
to tap into that evil genius mind of yours right there.
Absolutely, man. Great. Great. Yeah, we need to set this up again in the near future so we can get some more stuff coming from you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah, maybe we could show some snakes while we.
That's what we time. Yeah.
Are you guys coming? You coming to Tinley?
Yeah, I'm doing March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna come March.
Joel is thinking about it.
I'm 50-50. Yeah. I
Come
want.
on, Joel.
I'm trying to be responsible.
Bad idea, Joel.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll probably.
Not coming to Tinley is irresponsible.
Right.
There you go.
Irresponsible. Priority straight, man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, you're right. Yeah, I screwed that up. You're right. I'm sorry. That'll never happen again. Remember that.
Yeah.
But cool.
Definitely.
Cool. All right,
See you guys at the shows, man.
Yeah.
All righty, man. Yeah, we'll see you at the show. I'll stop by.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ozzy.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Everybody have a great
thank you, everybody, for joining and chatting and everything. You guys have a good night.
Yep. See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.